There's a place at the end of the world that confuses many people. A wild, untamed land of glaciers and mountains, endless plains and howling winds, where fewer than 2 million people live, scattered across a territory bigger than France, Germany and the UK combined. This is Patagonia. Curiously, however, nobody can agree on who actually owns it. Split between two modern countries, but also claimed by ancient indigenous peoples. Invaded by empires, yet wild enough to resist anyone's full control. This is one of the world's most fascinating territorial puzzles, one that still doesn't have a perfect solution. Stay connected if you want to find out more, and please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you would like to discover more curious connections around the world. So what exactly is Patagonia? Many people have heard of it, but might not know exactly what it is. A country? A state? It is actually a vast geographic region shared between Argentina and Chile, stretching across the bottom of South America. At 750,000 square kilometers, that's an area bigger than France, Germany and the UK combined. But long before Argentina and Chile existed, Patagonia belonged to indigenous peoples who lived without borders, connected to the land through tradition, not territory. For thousands of years, indigenous peoples had not only survived, but thrived in one of the Earth's harshest environments. While civilizations elsewhere were building cities and developing agriculture, the peoples of Patagonia were mastering something perhaps even more remarkable, surviving brutal cold, treacherous waters, and vast emptiness, with nothing but stone tools and intimate knowledge of the land. When Europeans first arrived, they were stunned, not just that humans could survive here, but how they survived. The Selk'nam wore little more than guanaco skin cloaks, despite the freezing winds. The Yámana, living in canoes, relied on seal grease for insulation, and even kept fires burning in their boats. To Europeans wrapped in layers of wool, it seemed impossible, yet these peoples had mastered the cold through adaptation, not clothing. The Yámana navigated bark canoes through channels so treacherous that modern sailors still fear them. The Selk'nam tracked guanaco across endless plains. The Tehuelche stood so tall that when the first Spanish explorers met them, they thought they discovered giants. When Ferdinand Magellan sailed through these waters in 1520, these towering Tehuelche made such an impression that he named the entire region Patagon, after a fictional giant from a popular novel of the time. But to these indigenous peoples, the concept of Patagonia didn't exist. They simply lived in relationship with the land, moving with the seasons, following the herds. Patagonia remained largely untouched by European colonization after Magellan's first visit. It was too cold, too remote, too difficult. Then, in the 1800s, newly independent Argentina and Chile both pushed into Patagonia, militarily and diplomatically, laying claim to lands long inhabited by indigenous peoples. Argentina launched what they euphemistically called the Conquest of the Desert. Led by General Julio Argentino Roca, it was a systematic military campaign designed to clear Patagonia of its indigenous inhabitants and open the land for settlement and ranching. Thousands of indigenous people were killed in battle, hunted down by militias, or forced into settlements where disease and cultural destruction finished what violence had started. The Selk'nam, who had survived ice ages, were hunted nearly to extinction. Chile took a different but equally devastating approach. Rather than large-scale military campaigns, Chile focused on establishing coastal forts, encouraging European settlement, and gradually squeezing indigenous peoples out of their traditional territories through land grants to settlers and ranchers. The result was the same: displacement and cultural destruction. In 1881, the two countries finally agreed on a border. The boundary treaty was meant to divide not just Patagonia, but all of Chile and Argentina, using the spine of the Andes Mountains as a natural boundary. In theory, Argentina would get everything east of the highest peaks, Chile everything to the west. Simple, right? Except in southern Patagonia, the Andes don't cooperate. They fragment into archipelagos, disappear into ice fields, and refuse to provide a clear dividing line. So in those places, the border isn't defined by geography, it's defined by negotiation and compromise. Invisible lines drawn across maps, crossing empty space. The massive ice fields make everything even more complicated. How do you identify the highest peaks when everything's buried in ice? How do you determine water divides when glaciers shift and melt? Some sections remain technically unresolved to this day. So who controls Patagonia today? On paper, roughly 1/3 Chile, 2/3 Argentina. But if you travel to Patagonia, you'll discover that distinction doesn't seem to matter much. A shared Patagonian culture transcends those invisible lines. Gauchos on both sides share mate, that distinctly Argentine tradition that's crossed the border here in ways it hasn't elsewhere in Chile. They speak with similar accents and feel more connected to each other than to their capitals that lie thousands of kilometers to the north. And yet, you become absurdly aware of the border when traveling. The famous road trips here mean crossing between Chile and Argentina 5, 6, sometimes 7 times. Each time, documents, customs checks, questions about your luggage. But step outside the border post, it's identical on both sides. The same mountains, the same wind, the same emptiness. The border feels arbitrary, a political line imposed on a landscape that ignores it. Travel on either side of the Andes and you'll see what makes this place legendary. Torres del Paine's granite spires rising above turquoise lakes in Chile. Mount Fitzroy's jagged peaks piercing the sky above El Chalten in Argentina. The Perito Moreno Glacier crashing into the waters of Lago Argentino with thunderous force. Ushuaia, the southernmost city in the world, facing Antarctica across the Beagle Channel. Patagonia has resisted being owned by any single entity for centuries. It is too vast, too wild, too stubbornly itself. Today, it still confuses people, straddling 2 nations yet belonging to neither. A place where the border exists on paper but dissolves on the ground. And maybe that's exactly as it should be, a reminder that some places are bigger than the borders we draw around them. If you go, and you should go, you'll cross that border multiple times. And within minutes, you'll forget which country you're in. Because you're not really in Chile or Argentina anymore. You're in Patagonia.